There is a particular kind of fear most people rarely admit out loud. It is not the fear of pain, nor even the fear of death itself. It is quieter than that, more intimate. The fear that one day your memories will disappear, and with them, the person you believed yourself to be. We tend to imagine death as a sudden ending, a clear boundary between existence and absence. But forgetting is different. Forgetting is gradual. It does not arrive dramatically. It erodes. At first, it is small things, a misplaced name, a familiar street that feels strangely unfamiliar, a story you know you have told before but cannot quite assemble again. These moments seem harmless, almost ordinary. Everyone forgets sometimes. We laugh it off, blame stress or lack of sleep, and continue. But beneath that casual dismissal lies an unsettling realization. Memory is not just something we possess. Memory is the structure that holds our identity together. Without memory, who exactly remains? Human beings experience life as a continuous narrative. We wake each morning believing we are the same person who went to sleep, because our memories stitch together past and present into a single story. Remove that stitching and continuity begins to collapse. The self becomes fragmented, momentary, unstable. This is why the idea of dementia terrifies so many people, not because it kills quickly, but because it slowly separates you from your own life while you are still alive to witness the separation. Dementia is not a single disease. It is a broad term describing cognitive decline severe enough to interfere with daily life. Many conditions can cause it: vascular damage, infections, nutritional deficiencies, traumatic injury. Some forms are reversible, others are not. The most widely known cause is Alzheimer's disease, a condition that reshapes the brain itself. Inside a healthy brain, billions of neurons communicate through intricate networks, passing electrical and chemical signals that allow thought, emotion, and memory to exist. These networks depend on a delicate balance: proteins folding correctly, waste being cleared efficiently, signals traveling without obstruction. In Alzheimer's disease, that balance begins to fail. Certain proteins accumulate where they should not. Amyloid beta proteins cluster together, forming plaques between brain cells. At the same time, tau proteins inside neurons twist into tangles, disrupting the internal transport systems that keep cells alive. Nutrients fail to arrive, communication breaks down. Gradually, neurons die, the brain physically shrinks. But the true horror is not visible under a microscope, it unfolds in experience. A person begins losing recent memories first. Conversations fade minutes after they occur. Objects are misplaced in impossible locations. Time becomes confused. Yesterday feels like years ago, while decades-old memories remain strangely vivid. Eventually, even deeply rooted memories begin to dissolve. Faces lose meaning, language falters, familiar environments feel foreign, and then comes the most unsettling stage, the erosion of self-recognition. Imagine looking into a mirror and feeling uncertainty about who is looking back. Imagine hearing your own name and sensing only faint recognition, like a word from a language you once spoke fluently but no longer understand. This is not merely forgetting information, it is forgetting perspective, forgetting the lens through which the world once made sense. Philosophers have long argued that consciousness is not a passive recording device, but an active interpreter. We do not simply observe reality, we construct meaning from it. Memory provides context, and context allows experience to feel coherent. Without memory, experience becomes isolated moments without narrative connection. The philosopher Martin Heidegger described human awareness as a kind of clearing, an open space where meaning appears. In dementia, it can feel as though that clearing is slowly overtaken by encroaching darkness. The world still exists, but fewer things reach understanding. Objects lose familiarity, words lose anchors, meaning fades before perception itself disappears. This gradual narrowing of awareness creates a paradoxical suffering. Early in the disease, individuals often recognize something is wrong. They sense gaps forming. They feel intelligence slipping away, but cannot stop it. It is like watching the lights of a city dim one by one while knowing you are still inside it. Caregivers often describe a second tragedy, ambiguous loss. The body remains present, but the personality changes. Loved ones grieve someone who is still physically alive. Conversations become echoes rather than exchanges. Shared memories survive only on one side. And yet, dementia also reveals something profound about human identity. If memory defines the self, then what happens when memory disappears? Is the person gone, or does something deeper remain? Interestingly, emotional responses often persist long after factual memory fades. A person may forget a visitor's name moments after meeting them, but retain the feeling of comfort or fear associated with that interaction. This suggests that identity may not rest entirely in explicit memory. Beneath narrative identity, the story we tell about ourselves, lies emotional identity, a quieter layer shaped by patterns of feeling. Even when stories vanish, traces of emotional experience remain. A song may still soothe. A gentle voice may still calm anxiety. A familiar scent may still evoke safety without explanation. Perhaps the self is not a single structure, but a series of layers, some more fragile than others. Modern neuroscience increasingly supports this idea. Different memory systems exist within the brain: episodic memory for events, semantic memory for facts, procedural memory for skills, emotional memory tied to the amygdala. Dementia affects these systems unevenly. Someone may forget their own history, yet still know how to play the piano. They may forget a name, but remember how it feels to laugh. This uneven loss creates moments both heartbreaking and strangely beautiful, flashes of recognition emerging unexpectedly, like sunlight breaking through heavy clouds. Yet, despite scientific understanding, one fact remains unchanged. There is still no definitive cure for Alzheimer's disease. Early detection has improved dramatically. Brain imaging can identify pathological changes years before symptoms appear. Researchers explore medications targeting protein accumulation, inflammation, and neural resilience. Lifestyle factors, exercise, sleep, social engagement, and cognitive stimulation appear to reduce risk, but certainty remains elusive, and perhaps that uncertainty is part of the fear. Unlike dangers we can clearly avoid, forgetting cannot be fully controlled. It exists as a possibility embedded within aging itself. We cannot entirely guarantee escape. This realization forces an uncomfortable question. If memory can vanish, what gives life meaning now? Many people respond by trying to leave permanent marks: achievements, wealth, recognition, digital footprints. We attempt to secure remembrance externally, hoping legacy will outlast biological fragility. But history shows even great figures eventually fade from collective awareness. Names once universally known become obscure footnotes. Monuments erode, records disappear. Forgetting is not an exception to human existence, it is one of its defining forces. And yet, this does not necessarily make life meaningless. It may do the opposite. If permanence is impossible, then meaning cannot depend solely on being remembered forever. Meaning must exist within experience itself, within moments of connection, creativity, kindness, and presence. The value of a moment may not lie in its survival across time, but in its reality while it exists. Consider a conversation that changes someone's day. Even if neither person remembers it years later, its impact was real. A feeling experienced fully does not require eternal preservation to matter. In this way, the terror of being forgotten reveals an illusion that significance depends on permanence. Perhaps significance depends instead on participation, on being fully engaged while consciousness allows it. There is also a strange liberation hidden within this idea. If memory is fragile, perfection becomes unnecessary. Mistakes fade, embarrassments dissolve. The pressure to construct a flawless identity loses its grip. Life becomes less about building an immortal narrative and more about inhabiting the present moment honestly. Ironically, awareness of forgetting can deepen appreciation for remembering. Every recalled story, every familiar face, every shared joke becomes temporarily miraculous, a delicate neurological achievement happening effortlessly in the background of ordinary life. We rarely notice memory working because it usually works perfectly until it doesn't. And maybe that is why reflecting on forgetting feels so unsettling. It exposes how much of ourselves depends on processes we barely understand and cannot fully control. Yet there is also resilience within human connection. Even when individuals forget others, those others can continue remembering for them. Identity becomes distributed across relationships. Families hold memories collectively. Friends preserve stories. Communities sustain meaning beyond any single brain. In this sense, being remembered may matter less than having participated in relationships that shaped others. Your memories may fade someday, but the ways you influenced people, the confidence you gave, the laughter you sparked, the comfort you offered, continue living within different minds. You do not exist only inside your own memory, you exist in echoes. So perhaps the terror of being forgotten is not entirely about disappearance. It is about uncertainty, about losing authorship over one's own story. But life has never granted complete authorship. Even now, memory edits constantly, reshaping events, altering details, rewriting meaning. The past we recall is already a reconstruction. Forgetting, then, is not the opposite of remembering. It is part of the same process, the mind continuously selecting what remains illuminated. And maybe the most meaningful response to this reality is not resistance alone, but intention. To speak honestly while words are clear, to learn while curiosity is strong, to connect while recognition is effortless, to live in ways that feel real rather than merely recordable. Because long before memory fades biologically, many people begin forgetting metaphorically, drifting through routines without attention, living days that leave no emotional imprint. The deeper danger may not be losing memory at the end of life, but failing to truly experience life while memory is still fully ours. The terror of being forgotten reminds us of something simple and urgent. Awareness is temporary, and precisely because it is temporary, it is precious. One day, every mind will grow quiet, every narrative will end, but between now and then exists a rare phenomenon, the ability to perceive, to feel, to choose, to care. And perhaps meaning is not found in being remembered forever, but in remembering, right now, that you are here at all.